Make it happen.
I think, oh, we're recording. Okay. What's up, everybody? It's Jordan here. These are the Bells. You may be familiar with Brad and his bride, Jen. You guys say hello.
Hello. What's up?
How we doing, everybody?
Things are good in my camp. How's everything over in the Bell household today?
Yeah, we're doing all right. We're hanging in there, tolerating each other, I think, as best as possible. You know, you put us all in close quarters. We're all very different. So it's been interesting watching just the various ways we deal with this sort of self-quarantine stuff that's happening.
Yeah, I found that the key for Jamie and I so far is communication, which it always is in marriage. But, you know, how has that been for you two, first of all? And just feeling like, what are you guys figuring out?
Well, so far, I think Brad had 2 full days off. And those were the 2 days that were the hardest because he likes to make lists for me. And my hippie spirit is loving the randomness of this in the midst of the struggle, not having such a set schedule, but doing things as they kind of more you feel like doing them is kind of easier for me, but I don't get as much accomplished. So
yeah, and when I'm in distress, I've got to find something I can control. Mm-hmm. And so I'm on my calendar trying to, when are we recording home church stuff and what are we serving and what's going on here and how do we interact with staff? And it was like, and so, yeah, I found myself trying to control a lot. And the family's like, yeah, there are dishes in the sink, which I'm like, why are there dishes in the sink? You know? So, yeah, we had an interesting adjustment. That first week, to be honest with you, was rough. Mm-hmm. I think we kind of had this assumption based on obviously my work in pastoral ministry and Jen's work as an artist. It was like, oh, you know what? Maybe we'll get a little margin here. Maybe we'll get to breathe. Maybe we'll get to rest. And man, I'm going to tell you something. This thing has just throttled me, especially. And then she's had a little bit more margin, but I've just been crushed trying to work with the city and work with ENP and work with the food bank and work with the mission and like all these organizations that need our help. And then of course our staff, and then we've got to record home church, and we just came off of Surf Fresno. So I was just like running a red line. And so it has been interesting now trying to figure out what does a new normal look like, if even for however long this is going to take. That's been interesting. Mm-hmm.
But ultimately good. I feel like you communicate, you work through it. Sometimes I got to put my foot down, say chill. And so he does. But
sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you guys talked a little bit about rhythms. What has obviously unprecedented this time. What does your new family rhythm look like together? I mean, because tell everyone who doesn't know ages of kids and gender.
Okay, so we have 17-year-old daughter who's a junior in your program, and then we have a 14-year-old who's still in middle school, in middle school ministry.
Yeah, daughter as well.
Yeah, and our oldest is pretty hard on herself. She's got a lot on her schedule. She kind of flies at a high altitude, self-regulator. And so honestly, it's been really good for her. She's also an introvert. So I've seen more joy and giggles, and sometimes she follows us around. I mean, and she's, we only have 1 more year of school for her. So it's been a huge blessing to see her kind of lighten up a little bit, honestly.
Yeah.
What's caused that levity for her?
I think truthfully, introvert time. She's got a little palace upstairs, her room, and it's literally, I can hear her walking around. And that's like her sanctuary, and she just needs that time. She's up there, she's got her Sinatra records cranking, and she's up there reading a Jane Austen novel and just enjoying her introvert. And that fills her tank to be able to interact with the family. So when she comes downstairs, she's ready to interact. So she'll come down and hang out on the couch, and she's helped make dinner the last several nights. And so it's been interesting watching that.
But I think it's also just her schedule. I mean, she's volleyball, she's coaching, she's AP classes, all of the, leadership with
it's all those requirements from that high school pastor we got. He's really demanding.
Expectation. She can just breathe. I mean, honestly.
And our youngest, she's 8th grade, 14. She's over at Fresno Christian this semester, and boy, they've like dumped the truck in terms of work. And so she's been spending a lot of time on work and a lot of time on like video classes, and really an interesting contrast between what Clovis Unified is doing and what's happening there. So she's honestly been in her room working, but she had some resources and wanted to buy some LED lights for her room. And so we hooked her up. So she's got like the disco room now.
It's Vegas up there.
It's awesome. But that's what she wanted. And that's her. Yeah. So yeah, they're very different kids. But so the rhythm really, there's two things I would say, Jordan, to circle back to your original question. One thing is Friday mornings, we have for a long time now done a date time together. And it's usually like 10 to 1. And when the kids are in school, we go hang out. Instead of doing a date night when the kids are home, it's like, well, the kids are gone anyway, let's do that. So we've been trying to keep date time. And so we did that today. We happened to go grocery shop for my stepmom and dad. But anyway, that's what you do when you're in this crisis. You go shop for the folks that are in vulnerable categories. That being said, we tried to keep that. The biggest surprise to me, though, honestly, in terms of rhythm, dinner. We just said, what if we every night at 6 o'clock had dinner together as a family? And it was like, wait, what? You can do that? And that has been unbelievable. We turn on some music. The kids come help make dinner. We have some nice appetizers. We make a nice meal. And that has been awesome. And here's what we found. That time has been so rich. At times, our kids would be up in their rooms and like we're yelling like, dinner, come down for dinner. We're finding they're like coming down early without us asking and hanging out, just being a part of the dinner table. So we've really recaptured that dinner table time. It's been pretty sweet.
Well, and I had specifically prayed for, I didn't mean for a world pandemic to happen, but
it's Jen's fault. This whole thing. It's not the Chinese virus. It's not the coronavirus. It's the Jen Bell virus.
No, I had met with another business gal who was sharing with me her vision. And she said, you've got to think of for your business, what's something from childhood that can capture? So maybe it was an experience or a memory, and hers was the dinner table. So she starts gushing about her dinner table experience with her family. And it just kind of slapped me upside the head because we were so good when our kids were little with dinner. And then all the things are at night and it's really hard. And the one night we try to do family night, Kendall has youth group, which is awesome. We want her there. But the rest of us and Chelsea are all having dinner and she's gone. So
yeah, in our rhythm, we've got, of course, middle school Tuesday, high school Wednesday, midweek Thursday where I teach. And so 3 nights out of the week we're shot. And then we try to do a dinner on Monday night as a family, but the kids have homework or practice or coaching, or she's got a workshop she's teaching. So it just becomes very difficult. So the dinner table has been super good.
Just trying to, I call it, so just kind of like savor the slow, because this is hard, but it's all where it's just like anything, you know, if your spouse gets on your nerves, if you just step 4 feet this way and look at what they are doing right, that's your perspective. So now you can live in gratitude versus frustration.
I've often wondered, every once in a while, Jen will just walk 4 feet away from me. And I'm not sure what she's doing. Maybe now I know.
I'm just counting up all the good things. And,
is it after you cough?
But I think just with any circumstance, some people are really struggling. And I have more time to pray for them, you know? We've got so many people that we know and love that are working their tails off right now. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of anxiety. All of us are living in the unknown. We're all in the same boat that way. But I think it's just are we going to milk this for all it's worth in a good way? Or are we just going to sit in the anxiety of what might happen, you know?
That's good.
And I think that connects to our girls because they kind of feed off our response to all of this insanity. So.
Yeah. So do you feel like the dinner table has been the main connecting point? Have you guys added anything else into your schedule?
No, the primary is the dinner table. That has been rich. Kids will go with us for a walk if we take the dog sometimes, but you know what? The dinner table has been sweet. And, you know, we try to capitalize on that. We're asking some questions. We're letting the kids interact, sharing where they're at, hearing their hearts, even processing their own potential anxieties and fears. They haven't had a ton, but that's just a sweet time versus like, hey, come downstairs, sit on the couch. Hey, let me ask you, how are you doing? Most teenagers are not going to respond real well to that face-to-face, how you doing, you know, thing. But as we're making dinner and we're laughing and we're telling stories and she breaks into a dance party and, you know, they're laughing at TikToks and this and that, all of a sudden now the emotion starts coming out. We're able to process with them how they're feeling. Because truthfully, we've never seen anything as adults like this. Well, they've never processed anything like this either.
Yeah.
So it's tough.
Yeah.
Have you guys created, I think like a consistent question I get is like, you know, there are, even in the busyness of life before this, there were some spiritual rhythms, right? And so there were youth group on Tuesday, Wednesday, leadership, church on Sunday, like, you know, insert sort of experience that you go to that then bleeds into the rest of the life. But now that everything is home, have you guys, are your kids more self-starters as far as their own relationship with Christ? And if not, or if so, how do you help sort of guard them against all the messages of the world that are so deeply steeped in the situation, and that everything's internet right now, you know, and that's the main source of their worldview, if not bled through the gospel. So how have you guys helped shape that?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I would say props to Jen. She's a great question asker. And in our home, she's kind of the persistent one, like thumping at them all the time in terms of what are you reading and what are you learning and what are you memorizing and this and that. And I think they at least feign sort of annoyance at first. I think they actually like it, that she's probing. And what we're finding is we were really encouraged to hear from them. They actually, each individual have a very robust devotional life. So they on their own are reading their Bibles. And so we'll go up to their rooms and they're in their Bible study, or they're doing their leadership stuff, or they're just spending time in the Word and praying. And so that has been really rich, that they've sort of developed their own. It's like riding a bike without training wheels. You know, they're kind of doing that on their own. And so that's been really sweet. But, you know, props to you and to Kaeo and to the rest of the youth staff. You guys have done a tremendous job of staying connected to the students, ours included. And they're both in leadership for middle school and high school. That's been helpful for them because it's challenged them. And then for us from a spiritual standpoint, so we're asking those questions. They see us very consistently in our Bibles, spending time with the Lord. We have spiritual conversations as a family. We're talking about what we're learning. But church for us, we're going to be watching home church, as awkward as it is for me to watch myself teach home church. We're going to be watching home church at 11:30 because that's our gathering. Those are our people. That's our community. Tonight, we've got a little Zoom call with some dear friends, and we're going to do a little Shabbat night tonight and just hang out via video. And so they're watching us interact like that as well. And I think those things have really helped sort of set the spiritual temperature in our home, and where they realize that's kind of who we are, and therefore that's what we do.
I have overheard several of the Zoom calls with you guys, with their leaders, with Campus Life, and it's just been extremely encouraging because I feel like those relationships have already been built over time. And so now they have already won the right to ask the kids the question. I think my biggest concern right now is what you had said a little bit earlier. It's kind of like has to do with the appetites. And this is one of our kids is on, you know, house party with their friends quite a bit, and everyone's looking at TikToks. And I'm just thinking, I just want to ask the questions because in ministry, we've always tried to be really careful with there's been seasons where we've done devotions before school and things like that, but we've always tried to kind of help guide and direct and exemplify and not be so Bible time every day at 6 a.m.
And let me just make a quick comment on that. To be honest with you, when I was in high school, like the rowdiest partiers were the pastor's kids because they were so, like, it was shoved down their throat so often, and they had to perform a certain way. So like the pastor's kids were expected to be toeing the line and blah, 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 blah. And so we've tried really, really hard. In fact, probably maybe the opposite extreme of just saying, look, we're not pushing anything down your throat. This is who we are. This is how we're going to live. We invite you into that because I think it's more honoring to the Lord. And I would suggest it's the abundant life, but we've given them a lot of freedom because I didn't want that legalistic home. So.
And I think the biggest thing is the why. I remember just telling Kendall, and I've never talked to my kids like they're young. It's probably been inappropriate, but I've always shared with them kind of issues and stuff like that. And so is he. And so I think they're both scared of pornography. They're both scared of inappropriate because they're self-regulators. And I think they understand once something's in your mind, it is in your mind. But right now is my biggest concern for all of our kids and really adults.
Yeah,
I mean,
because it's all right here.
We have access. And I kind of got on TikTok just to kind of see what the big deal was. And there's a lot of shirtless guys like in love with themselves, and there's recipes and creative, cute things and super fun family things. But there's a lot of sexual things going on, and a lot of like live selfies of like, adore me, like me, and that scares me because I think it's just building into me, who am I? And then that appetite. I think I'm just praying so much for appetite What are you hungry for? Because as you think, you're going to behave, you're going to become, your relationships flow out of that. And your entire life fruit comes out of your mind. And so I've just been asking them questions about, like, what are you ingesting? What are they seeing us ingest on Netflix? What's our appetite? I mean, it really flows. All of us are kind of in the same boat, adults and kids, with, you know, when things are stressful, you kind of want to find ways to diffuse the stress or find comfort. And some of those things are extremely unhealthy and they're sinful. So I want our leaders to ask those questions of our kids. Like, you guys have absolute freedom to ask those questions, because
Was that Bridget?
It's Peyton. She's leaving. She's sheltering at home though.
There's some drive-thrus at Dutch, I think.
Yeah, we're good. I feel like you're exactly right, and I get a lot of questions from parents on just the worry that this season, you know, social media is like one of those things, right, that can be good or toxic.
Totally.
And so, you know, the church is trying to leverage it for good and for the gospel right now. But we also recognize that there is, you know, the pornographic aspects, the self-obsession aspects, and all these things. There's a lot of like worry from parents that with the extra time and the isolation, the excuse for laziness, that all their time will be spent in those worlds. And so we've done things like make, you know, really good sermons 2 clicks away from our Instagram bio, or, you know, things like how do we engage them in like their life groups and stuff like that. But you can only do so much from our end.
Absolutely.
And so do you guys have any recommendations for just how to have those conversations with your kids?
Okay, so can I just say something first?
Certainly.
We got to pray. And I know sometimes we just go prayer, but prayer is what moves that needle, because I think your kids get to the point to where, at least ours, it just gets a little touchy to ask the questions too many times or to go there too many. I'll just get the, you know, the eye roll. I'm doing fine. But my conviction has been to pray for those appetites, to pray for what it is that they're seeking, what are they longing for, and to understand that what you're seeking leads to abundance or not abundance. Literally, all of us can come out of this from the Pacific to the Atlantic. It's not going to it could either be a little bit left or to the right, or it could be major growth or complete crash and burn. And so it's just those little disciplines, and it's always like that. But I feel like right now it's pretty concentrated because they have so much time to spare. And so I just feel like I have just been begging God for all of our youth group kids, just give them a heart and a desire for growth and abundance. And for me, that really is staying connected with their life groups. That, you know, I'm just encouraging them, keep up with these relationships because they've got to grow together.
Yeah, I was just flipping through on my phone here to Colossians 2 while you said that, because one of the things that I think is just worth noting for parents is, you know, Paul says in Colossians 2:21, he says, these decrees, like do not handle, taste, or touch, they seem to be in accordance with the word of God and the teachings of men, but these things have to be sure the appearance of wisdom, the appearance of self-made religion, and of self-abasement and of severe treatment of the body, but are of no value against fleshly indulgence. And so I think what parents need to understand is, look, we can create as many moral fences around, as many rules, no phones at night, and no Snapchat after this time, or Snapchat at all, or no this or no that. We could do all of that. And those things aren't in and of themselves bad. But according to that, they are of no earthly value against the battle of fleshly lust, which means the issue is a hard issue.
Yes.
So as we're talking about putting moral fences out there, and I'm all for age-appropriate technology allowances and whatnot, and I wouldn't suggest a young kid have full access to everything. Internet filters are good. Limitations and boundaries are good. But they are only good in so much as they keep you from seeing things maybe before you're ready, but you're going to see them as a young person. And so the challenge would be to shepherd that heart and not get lost in the rules and the boundaries. Now, that being said, our kids know every digital device is ours. We bought it, we pay for it, it's ours, which means we look at their texts and we look at their online stuff and we monitor things, and we are very involved with their digital fingerprints and want to make sure that we understand what's going on in their life. And they have certain freedoms, but we also are dialing in, via our own eyes, what they're spending time on, just by way of trying to keep, a pulse on it. And if we feel like they're going, somewhere that's not healthy, we're going to have that conversation.
Accountability. If they know you're going to check it once a month or something like that, they kind of have it in the back of their mind.
Yeah. With the freedom comes the responsibility. You've got to steward that freedom well. And if you don't steward it well, then the freedom gets removed. And thankfully, that has not been an issue with our kids. I'm grateful for that. Now, we have 2 girls. And I would imagine if you're raising boys, it might be a little different, considering percentage-wise, pornography with boys is much, much more prevalent than with girls. But it still is prevalent. And it's not even the pornography anymore, truthfully. It's the suggestive material. It's the allure of love and romance. It's the whole, Twilight gone bad stuff where it's all about relational nonsense. So, anyway.
I think the other thing is how do you respond when they do confess something? Because both girls have run into things accidentally over the years. And as they've shared it, we weren't like, it was like, okay, so let's talk about that, and not freaking out. And they both know our history. Both of us did not grow up in a Christian home and did not make good choices at their current ages. So they both know that we paid some dumb tax, and we've always shared that with them.
Yeah.
So have humility with sharing your own desires.
I'm laughing. I remember when Peyton came home, she was in elementary school. She came home, she goes, Daddy, and she says the F word. What does F word mean? And she said it. And I was like, oh gosh. I'm like, where did you hear that? So I'm like, keep a straight face, because if I freak out, she'll never share anything again. So I'm like, oh, sweet. That's an interesting word. Where'd you hear that? She goes, oh, it was written on the play structure at school. I was like, well, let's talk about that. There's a lot of words that are out there that are appropriate. There are many that are inappropriate, but I had to totally straight face it, because if I freaked out, that set the precedence. You're not safe. I can't talk to you about stuff I'm hearing. And so we've created that vibe where the kids can come and they can share anything that they've heard or processing or struggling with. And it's like, hey, we're going to work with you to understand it, knowing that you're hearing things that we may not say in our home, words that are inappropriate, but don't be surprised if your friends say it. Like that's okay. Those are people that we're hoping come to faith in Jesus and God changes their heart. But until that day, we're going to hear things that we're not comfortable with, and welcome to a sinful world.
Just that struggle of how much do you push, even just a microcosm of that, for me to have expectations. Okay, here's so many people. It's family time now. And of course, Peyton's down a lot, but Kendall is doing a lot of schoolwork. She's got friends she's keeping up with. So I think the first few days I'm like, where are you, Kendall? Everyone else is here, and just kind of pushy. And I got some feedback from that. And then the last few days we've kind of given her more freedom, and then she kind of wanders down. So I think with teenagers, you're just constantly pushing and pulling and trying to be, if I say anything, she's kind of in a touchy season. So if I say anything that's at all kind of too, naggy, she gets really sensitive. So I'm just learning that with her, because Peyton just was a completely different personality to raise.
Yeah. Well, I think there's 2 things I hear in there is every kid's different,
Yes.
Absolutely.
Even though you guys are the same parents, every kid's different. And so take the time to get to know your kids enough to know how they respond.
Yeah. Proverbs 22:6, right? Train up a child in the way they should go, for when they're old, they'll not depart from it. Meaning every child is unique and different. So train up that child in the way they should go. And that means you're going to walk a different path with each kid.
And to celebrate that, because they are different. And sometimes it's one personality is easier to praise. Like I'm kind of a zoo, and so is one of our children. And he and the other one are very straight line, get it all done a certain way. So he's gotten to learn to celebrate the 2 of us.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, and the second thing I hear is definitely the micromanagement.
Yeah.
There's a sense that you can drive them away through that desire to control. And so you're doing the opposite of what you want through the effort to do it.
Yes. We actually read a book I might throw out to parents that are processing, like, how do you give more and more leeway the older they get? And it's called Feeding the Mouth That Bites You. And it's a great book it's called Planned Emancipation. Basically, how do you create an intentional plan to launch your son or daughter out? We're raising our kids to leave our home and thrive after they leave, which means we need to give them increasing responsibility, increasing freedoms as they get older, so they learn how to manage that. So then when they go away to college or whatnot, they don't completely crash and burn as a freshman and have to move back home because they blew up their life.
Yeah.
So next, for example, what they wear, they buy their own clothes, but they have freedom there. What they listen to, as long as it's not explicit, I don't care. Their bedtime, they can go to bed whenever they want. I don't care. But you have to wake up on time. And if you don't wake up on time, there's consequence. Peyton has a curfew at this point of 12:30, but her senior year, she won't have a curfew. You can stay out as late as you want, because I want her to experience what does it mean to be out late on my own when she still has the covering of mom and dad here. And you can create your own, freedoms and responsibilities, but it's a great process of really thinking intentionally about how do I create a home where my kid learns how to adult under my roof and isn't babied and mothered.
And they just feel respected.
And they feel like we're treating them like grown-ups. So like we don't have allowance, we have commissions. So they do chores around the house and they get a commission. But Friday's payday. And if they don't Venmo me to pay them, then I'm not paying them. And one kid gets paid every week and one kid has missed it forever. It's like Friday's payday. And if you don't turn in your time card at work, you don't get paid. And with that comes freedoms and responsibilities. So it's been interesting work. Let me just be candid and say this, and I don't want to talk too much, buddy, because I know we have a tendency to ramble. We are not perfect parents. We're far from it. We're figuring it out just like everybody else. But by the grace of God, we're trying to figure out what does it mean for us to have a gospel-centered home, pour into our kids, keep Jesus the center of the conversation, and help them navigate what growing up looks like. And my goal has been for years to raise daughters without a father wound. And truthfully, that's not easy because I tend to be an ogre in our home. Like I'm the guy, if she's a zoo, I'm the guy who's like cracking down. And so we're having to even wrestle with that and go, okay, what does it mean for me to be more gentle? What does it mean for her to be more on task and organized? And how do we create a home where they can flourish before they leave?
Absolutely. And finding things to praise. I think I try to be heavy on the affirmation, not in a fake way or a way where they roll their eyes, but thank you for doing the dishes. I think sometimes as parents, we just forget we give everyone else love and affirmation. And then our kids, we don't.
And I would say, why would I thank you? That's like the required minimum. Like you did what the minimum you were supposed to do. Good. It's called living, but she's right. I've got to go, no, if I could affirm that is good. Especially to bring it back around to why we're having this conversation, especially while we're at shelter in home or shelter in place. I mean, we're in close quarters. I mean, we're on top of each other and it's out of everybody's normal. So we have to show each other a little bit of grace in that regard.
And make it fun. We are putting on the music more. We're trying to laugh more, sending each other stupid memes and TikTok. Like we just got to keep it light.
I don't send any memes or TikToks.
I thought you sent us one. The Pope one. That one was really funny.
He's like, I deny all knowledge.
You just showed it to me. You didn't send it.
Well, I think, just final thoughts here. We've got, at the very least, I hope, we're all familiar with Clovis culture, Fresno, as well, of go, go, go. One thing after another. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. And then I think a lot of parents, they forget that to get to know their kids through all that. And so there's a tremendous opportunity that is on the plate of parents right now. And it may be difficult as a transition, but we hope and we pray that opportunity would not be wasted as this phase comes about, and that they really capture the time with their families. And so if you guys have any last thoughts, just kind of give to the people of our church and saying how to capture this time with their family and adjust well. Yeah,
this may not be like the magic bullet, if you will, for this thing, but I will say, it might help and certainly would be worth experimenting. I went the other day on a little jog, and then we had walked the dog the other day, and we just passed a myriad of families at least 6 feet apart and blah, blah, blah. But I realized, families are taking advantage of this time to have a little bit more margin to get outside. And I know when I'm talking to men, I realize most women connect comfortably face to face. Most men connect comfortably shoulder to shoulder. And I would say most teenagers, when it comes to us as parents, are probably more like men interacting, meaning very seldom is either of my kids going to sit down and go, hey, can I just share my heart with you right now? They're never going to do that. But if we could do something, we go for a walk, We go for a bike ride. You break out the skateboards or the rollerblades or whatever, or you go to the park. We bought a little volleyball net thing that we're going to go play with. It's kind of like 9 square, but different. We're going to do those things because we found as we're shoulder to shoulder, playing, interacting, hanging out, there's positive connections that happen that sort of give you the credibility to have those heart moments, which may not happen while recreating, but I think that recreation invests into the relationship and creates space for those things to happen later.
And then I think serving other people, just getting our eyes off ourselves. So we took those little cards around to the neighbors, getting stuff for the parents. We're baking bread for Martin Park, just trying to figure out what are some things we can do to get our eyes off ourselves. Now, I just want to thank you publicly for your ministry and your leaders and your team, because I think so often, if the wheels would fall off with one of my girls or one of their friends, the first thing I do is say, let's get some discipleship from our Jordan and his team and Kaeo and his team. What can we as parents do to help support your ministry? And I actually, before this even started, you guys have been on my mind, because I can't even imagine the weight that you guys carry. And so I would love to just start some sort of ministry to support you guys, which we'll do after this is over, like have you over for dinner at different homes. But what can we do to help you guys so that you feel supported in the midst of guiding our kids? What else matters, really,
Yeah, I appreciate you and your love for us. I think, honestly, if parents reach out with encouragement and with anything else besides complaining, I think honestly, I think complaints are welcome. That's how we get better. We learn from each other. But that's unfortunately when we hear from families most of the time. When things are good, you don't hear from people. So just that kind of stuff, staying in touch, making sure that we are connected. Because I would honestly, if all the parents were like, what you're doing is not working, we would overhaul our whole ministry.
Absolutely.
And so we want to be connected with families in meaningful ways, and the way we do that is through conversation. So like you said, have us over, give us phone calls, check in on whatever. Let's stay connected. And I think we start from there, and then we build on it depending on what people need or they want. So I appreciate you bringing it up.
Lifting you guys up too.
Yeah. Definitely pray for us. That's for sure.
Yeah. And sending as many selfies and TikTok videos that we can do as a family.
And gift cards. Lots of gift cards.
Yeah. I think actually, I love heirloom. So does my wife.
Good. Okay.
That's right.
All right. Well, thanks guys. We really appreciate you.
Thank you.
I think the families of our church hopefully will be blessed by this. And I thank you guys for your time.
You got it, buddy. Appreciate you very much. Thank you.
Take care.
Yeah.